my gosh. Hi, Libby.
Hi, Meg.
Hi. Okay, so this is Meg at blackwingfarms.com. And I'm talking to Libby Kovalcik from the Rancho Coastal Humane Society in Encinitas, California. We love and adore Libby, the entire staff there, all the dogs. And oh my gosh, the last time I was there with that, remember the mama with the babies, the shepherd pit, what?
All right. She was our Roddy.
Oh, Roddy, it was fabulous. A little cattle dog. She had short legs, right?
Did, yeah, had a little bit of speckling on her foot, so she might have a little herder in her.
Yeah, it was fabulous. Those were the cutest puppies.
Yeah, big puppy.
Yeah, yeah. So let's jump into Rancho Coastal. What's your mission? What do you do over there?
I am the behavior and training specialist, so I do behavior modification plans. I do a lot of training with the dogs, training of the volunteers and the staff and fosters. So a lot of training and behavior, just like the title says, mostly with that, but not just the animals, but as well as the staff and volunteers and fosters.
I know we're not unique. We're all mammals, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So the last time I visited a month or two ago, the last time I visited, and this is what prompted this initial, well, actually, prompted the entire project that I'm working on now. And because we talked about this, and it's not unique to anyone. It's, I believe we're all there. We're all there within certain degrees. It's kind of like wading in the water. Some of us are, barely our toes wet, and others of us are up to our necks. Stranger danger.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot. We've got, it seems to be the case across the nation that more shelters are just getting in more dogs with fear, reactivity, a lot more reactive dogs. So it's, a lot of dog to dog reactivity. But, again, I use the term stranger danger to mean anything that's a trigger that causes you to react in a manner that we would not love or cause you distress. Or causing the animal distress. So we're getting, I don't know why exactly that's happening, but it seems to be the case across the board. A lot of even just trainers in homes are saying the same thing. They're getting a lot more reactive cases, right? Dogs with fears. It's not just the basic obedience and teaching your dogs, right, to do all the sit, come, stay, heel things. It's everywhere. Yeah.
And I know you love your science. You love your science, and but I remember reading about this years ago that fear can be transferred in utero to the babies. Is that
Yeah,
something?
I mean, I remember years ago just hearing about a story where they shocked a cow when she was pregnant with the electric fences, and the the cow the cow that was born knew instinctively to then stay away from those fences, right? So
Wow, I never knew that. That sounds like a Temple Grandin
yeah,
research.
right. I don't remember where it was so long ago. I was like, wow, things transfer. They even talk about even just thinking about the stress that is it's like a virus that you get dogs here at the shelter that are really stressed and barking. It's going to bleed through the rest of that section, through the rest of that shelter. It just is contagious, right? So I totally believe that, if there's some trauma, yeah, that's how that gene pool and that gene sequence is related to the offspring.
Yes, yes. When I was with the Louisiana SPCA via the Humane Society of the United States, they had specific dogs down there that were bred for fighting. And they were known throughout the state of Louisiana. They were red-nosed Boudreaux. And I'm not saying that all of them are, negative, but what I am saying is that generation after generation, we're better and better fighters.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it with all kinds of DNA, right? So we've bred the Bostons and the Boxers, and they don't look anything like they did many years ago. So and they bred them for, just like Goldens. You're picking the nicest or most social Goldens and breeding those Goldens. So, it's the dogs that may be less likely to be social. Maybe they're breeding, right? The Mexico street dogs. They're again, I can't say what it is exactly. Just know that we are getting a lot more in the shelter of these different fears in our animals.
So that's the good news. The good news is it's not all blame the human. It's not.
No, the only blame that I would put on the human is, be whether you're going to be an advocate for the dog you have now, right?
Okay. Perfect.
Right?
Yes, exactly. Which segues. So our theme is a stranger danger solutions, tried and true. Because no offense, I don't want to get it off YouTube. I want to hear a whole bunch of experts, and then I'll make up my own mind. Because again, we know behavior is the study of one, the one that's in front of you, right? So when I say here, defining the problem, creating solutions, defining the problem is as it is now, immediately right in front of us.
Right.
And so that problem of stranger danger is pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, every dog's trigger is going to be different, and they're going to have different levels of reactivity to that trigger. Mm-hmm. So, the first thing I guess would be is to identify what are the triggers. Really, what is it that your animal is afraid of? And is it all men in hats? Is it just that one guy with a beard and a hat? Is it every person who comes to the door? Is it every dog? So identifying what it is that causes a reaction, right, is going to be the first thing, is right, defining the problem. Well, my dog is afraid of X at, and also distance, right, at this distance. So I can have a stranger, 10 feet from my dog without them going in reactivity, but can't get 3 feet from my dog. So those are the two things that you are going to identify, is what is the trigger and how far do I need to be from that trigger for my dog to feel okay still.
Excellent. That's it. And so again, bringing in flower essences and natural remedies that we can also help them say, it's okay. We respect this 8-10 foot. We respect this. But let's help you feel, and it's the F word to a lot of people. Let's help, for me, let's help the canine feel better. Feel better about the immediate environment. Yeah, go ahead.
It is feeling. You are exactly right. So those who don't think that behavior comes from an emotional response, well, of course it is. Your dog is scared or frustrated and this is what causes the behavior to occur. So we have to change how they feel, just like you said.
Yep, exactly. So, and not to talk over you, but I've got to tell you what I came up with. It's a pretty simple line, but it is, for the lizard brain to absorb, it is emotion plus experience equals memory, which is learning. Right? It's those,
change the emotional state. Yes, we have to change the emotional state. Right. So that was one of the things that I wanted to harp on was, see too many people correcting their dogs.
Tell me about that. Yeah, talk about that. I want to hear.
So however they choose to correct, whether it's popping the leash or just telling them no, or using intimidation or force or whatever, you are not changing. This is what is so frustrating, is you're not changing the emotional state of the animal. You might be able for a short period to suppress behavior, right? So if I beat my wife because she burns the dinner, right, you're going to learn not to burn the dinner anymore, but it doesn't, again, change how you feel about me, right? So to inflict more fear or pain on an already fearful creature is not going to fix a problem.
Yes.
Suppress. And that's the deceiving thing with some people who feel that that's the way to do things, is to teach them they're not allowed to communicate. which is all you're really doing is teaching them you're not allowed to tell me you're scared.
Yes.
Because I just shut up and sit and be cave. It will only last for so long because dog can only take it for so long until now I just can't take it anymore. And now I'm going to lash out because
Yes. And what you did there was escalate. Their behavior escalates. I always say I should have t-shirts that say, listen to the growl. Listen to that. They're communicating.
Go through the books, man. Listen to the eyes.
Yes.
Listen to the body. I don't want to get to a growl, right? So that's, when you say, what do you do? My hope is that the first thing we can teach people is to really learn to understand and read body language. If most people have not a clue on how to read their animal. So if you're already at a growl, you really have missed a lot of communication from your animal.
Yes.
You really have.
Yeah.
That's what I hear, that would be is like, learn. There's so many fabulous sites and, pieces of paper that have little cartoons on them and descriptions of all the things that your dog is saying to let you know that they're stressed, right?
Yes.
Okay, forget about happy. I know when you're happy, don't care. But to know when that stress is starting to build, when you're telling me I don't feel okay right now, we miss so much, right?
Well, tell me a little bit in that area right now about meet and greets, because that's another thing that's massive. I don't want them to be afraid. I want, what do we do on meet and greets in public or at home, whatever? And is it dog or a person? So yeah, I'm gonna
knowing the distance again is gonna be key. How far does that person need to be for my dog to not already be growling, barking? All right, well, 10 feet. So we're going to create one of our ways of doing stuff to change their emotional state is to create a new association.
Create a new association. Brilliant. Yeah. Okay, I just need to take a pause and repeat that. You say create a new association when the meet and greet is getting a little too heightened.
Even again, you should already know that your dog does not like strangers. So we're starting right away, right?
I know. So tell us about that.
As soon as I open up the door, my friends are going to have bacon, right? I'll leave bacon at the door. One of the highest, maybe that's the highest value, whatever is a super high value treat for your dog. If the only time your dog really got bacon was when new people came in and either you or the new people were giving that dog bacon, you can guarantee over enough experiences that dog is going to really start to like strangers because that's the only time I get bacon. That's an association, right? We talked about that Santa Claus. My Santa Claus analogy was like, you see those kids screaming on Santa's lap, right? I don't know, right? They're little, they're screaming. They have no idea who I don't want anything to do with this person. Well, over time, they've learned that's the guy that gives you the awesome toys every year when you're good. Oh, now I want to go sit on Santa's lap because I want to tell him what I want for Christmas, right? We're just creating associations. There's other ways of working on their behavior. We play the game, engage, disengage, that works on their behavior of I look at the scary thing at the distance, and then you're marked and treated, right? Because it's your behavior. You looked at the scary guy, but you didn't bark at him. I'm going to mark you and treat you. We play this engage, disengage game. It starts to make them, more comfortable. Oh, when I look at the guy, I get turkey, chicken, hot dogs. Okay, start to create also behavior and association. So it's just, again, that's how you're going to change the brain, is to start teaching the dog whatever their trigger is associated with something amazing. Oh, okay. At that distance. So then we can go, at 30 feet, you're fine now, right? You're comfortable. And I've done this at the shelter time and time again. 30 feet, now you can look at that dog, go, okay, I don't really need to look at him anymore. I'm going to sniff. Good, we get 1 foot closer. And now we're going to start working at that distance because now you're like, ooh, we're a little closer. Okay, what's going on? And we start to associate, click and treat, looking at the dog, you get marked and treated. then we can get closer because you start to relax. Oh, okay. Oh,
So,
okay.
so tell me a little bit about that too. What is the person looking for when that, we're 30 feet away, but then when we go to 29 feet, what is the first thing that happens? Heightened a little bit, hackles a little, what are
So
they?
when we do now, and I'm relating this to marker training, right? To clicker training. So when we use our distance, this moment your dog alerts or identifies
Yes.
a
Okay.
trigger, that
Yeah.
moment I'm marking. And as
Yes.
soon as I throw the treat on the ground, likely dog's going to whip its head up and look again. And I mark and treat. And I do this until they start to slow down, till they no longer feel the need to keep their eyes on that trigger, right? So that's the engage part. I want to mark you and reward you for engaging.
Can we
Looking
mark?
at
I gotta ask right now. Can we mark verbally or with a sound also?
You
Can we use?
so
Okay.
verbally sound. So I use, like today, took the whole staff out for a reactivity class. Oddly enough, we took one of our reactive dogs out to one of our giant parks where there's tons of space. And we did our engage disengage. The moment the dog looked, I use a very high pitch. Yep, that's my sound. It's very
Good.
consistent, right? So you don't have to carry a clicker, but you better make sure that sound is loud and distinct and the same every time you make it.
And that the dog hears it and listens and reacts to that sound.
You already want to have your dog primed to a marker. So she already knows that sound equals a treat. She also knows whatever she did when she hears that sound equals the treat. So then you get dogs to repeat behavior because, that's what gets me what I want. So then we can start to, when you no longer feel the need to look at the trigger, or again, you start to look back at me, because that's the second part of the game that we play. It's like, I already know this game. I look, you click and I get a treat. I look, you click and treat. Now you look, I wait, 1, 2, yes, mark that. I mark the disengage, right? So your dog is learning, now when I look away, so if I look at a trigger and then look away, that's what gets me a reward. Yes, that's what I want, for you not to feel you got to keep your eyes on that trigger. Now, if you are not looking, you're looking at everything else and you're kind of uninterested, I'm going to step closer to the trigger. And now that's going to probably put you back a little more on alert because now we're closer and what's going on. And we play that again. Engage, engage, engage. Wait till I can get some disengage. Now we can close that gap when you're relaxed. You don't really need to look at that thing. You're disinterested. Now we'll get a little closer. And then we can start to close that gap, right?
Yes. Yes. That's perfect. That's perfect. So when we talk about triggers, what's another word for that? Possibly
it's a stimulus. So it's you can call it an obstacle. It's the scary thing. I mean, it depends on how technical you want to get your terms, right? It's some sort of stimuli that causes an emotional reaction, right? And that's what is the reaction. It's not a response, just like you talked. When we're in reactivity, we're only using that lizard brain. We're not using the prefrontal cortex of thinking. I just know scary. Oh my God. So we have to get you back over here working in the front part of your brain.
Yep. Now here's my science word for this. When I talked about stranger danger at home, doorbell drama, trash trucks, and zombie invasions. Okay. So whatever, but those are, I mean, I've heard several times from people and they go, my dog is perfect other than Tuesdays. That's when the trash trucks come. So so again, and what I want to do is ask your advice here. What do you do in those heightened situations? What do we say to diffuse? How do we intervene? And now we're taking it at home, and let's go for the doorbell, because I actually talked to 2 people this week. One woman is older than I. She is now on 2 crutches because of something that happened at the front door with her dog. That's all I'm going to say. And the other friend was out walking dogs, and she does have a pet sitting business, and I believe she broke her kneecap. So again, when we've got this drama, this heightened drama, again, not the dog's fault. We know that. Both of these people would admit that. But let's take doorbell drama, because it's doorbell drama. All I have to do is knock, and, place is up for grabs. The second thing there is door dashing. Oh my gosh. So that,
So, yeah, you've got a couple of options, we say, right?
okay.
You can manage. So you manage, whether that means I don't have the ability to work with you on Tuesdays. So then I'm putting you in a certain room and I'm turning on the radio really loud so that you cannot hear the garbage truck coming on the Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Right. We want to avoid allowing the dogs to practice that bad behavior or unacceptable behavior as much as possible, right?
But that's environmental management, which I completely agree with, but it's not perfect. It's not,
right.
And it's not a solution. It's a cover up.
Yes. So we say management always fails. So you may want to work on certain things, right? It does, right? The gates fall down. Somebody forgets to close the door, right?
Yeah.
All kinds of things. So you would end up then want to again desensitize, create a new association with that sound. So how you could go about doing that is getting a doorbell on your phone and turning it down really low. And when the doorbell happens, treats happen. Good job, treats. Doorbell, good job, treats. Right? Doorbell, treats. Doorbell, treats. And then start to make it louder. And so again, we're doing these things in tiny increments. So I'm only gonna make you subject this to you at a very mild or low degree, and then we're gonna start upping it as you get comfortable, so we can start building that muscle of okay, and then so we'd have to desensitize you and teach you again. Now the doorbell equals something good rather than a scary thing that I've gotta make stop.
And can we do placement at the same time? Can we
sure,
say, safe place means, for me, it means 10 feet, 15 feet away from the door, and that's your safe place. That's where I'm actually going to toss the treats. Yes. And then when they get there, and then I'm going to cue that, right?
Yeah.
When they make it to the mat, then I'm going to, yeah.
Right, because you can do anything. Go grab a toy, right? So some people say, well, teach your dog to do something that's incompatible with the behavior they normally do. So if they normally bark when the doorbell rings, well, you can also teach them the doorbell is the cue for them to go grab their toy, right? Because you can't really bark with the toy in their mouth. But again, when you're dealing with fear, you're not ringing the bell and expecting to teach him go retrieve, right? I'm going to get you comfortable with the doorbell first, and then we're going to train you to go on your mat. And then again, the cue is going to be doorbell rings, you go lay on your mat that's 10 feet from the door, right?
Perfect, because I think that's a huge issue. So we did trash trucks, didn't cover zombie invasions. We'll do that next time. But we got trash trucks, and we got the safe place, and we got doorbell drama. So you nailed it. Thank you so much. So here's stranger danger in public. So this is leash pulling and panicking, pancaking. I mean, that to me is equally as bad. Wanting to run home, wanting to run towards. It all starts with meet and greets, of course, but go on.
Yeah, well, one of the things we say is don't walk your dog. I know we really do. I'm not the only trainer who says that. If your dog is that fearful and that reactive, why are you making them go for walks? You can stimulate them and get them all the enrichment they need in your home and yard, rather than subjecting them to there's that. I wouldn't ever go for hikes if I knew every time I went for a hike I'm gonna run into a snake. Then I'd quit hiking, right? I wouldn't. There's no way. I love hiking. I'm terrified of snakes, and if that was my experience, nope, not doing that anymore. I don't want to. Again, I always use my own experience to try to help people understand. Again, I have a phobia of snakes. There was one time I was on a hike with a friend. Our dog saw a gigantic rattlesnake. He wasn't that close to us. He was 10 feet away. I freaked out the rest of the hike. A stick hit my leg. I was like, oh, okay, okay. Well, that's the same as our dogs. You have one negative experience. You are now carrying that with you the rest of the walk.
Yes, that's true. Yes, and the rest of the day. And according to some studies, for the next 30 days. So, and as we relive that memory, as we think about that memory, it triggers again. So, you know, I've read a lot about post-traumatic stress and what it does and how it operates, et cetera. And it's only, all we have to do is remember the experience and it will bring it all back. So again, going back to that, emotion plus experience equals memory. And there you have it. And again, who knows where it comes from, but again, to diffuse it. And I'm just, yeah, so I'm just so glad that you bring these things to us in such a relatable way.
It helps. It helps to know that they do have emotions, guys. Of course they do. And we can't expect them to just experience something negative. And because they survived, again, I survived. I was never attacked by, wasn't bitten by a snake. My phobia is still there. My trauma is still there. So, right. And unless I'm attacked, you know, again, I use that analogy. If you wanted to throw me into a pit of snakes for $1 million, I'm going to tell you, shove your $1 million. I wouldn't take $10 million. I'm not going into a pit of snakes. Now you give me 10,000 just to see one far away, I will start to look for them, which otherwise I really don't. I only want to see one. I don't want to see one. No, but if I know it's going to equal 10 grand, I'll start to look for them, right? So that's the same as the dogs. We do have to find this balance of reward versus the trauma of the trigger. So again, trauma of the trigger is far enough away. My reward is high enough. I can start to build that. I call it a muscle of, okay, that's not terrible. I can really start to get now maybe excited over time that, all right, there's another snake, another 10 grand in the bank, right? Same for dogs. You have a high enough value. I'm going to really start to like strangers walking by because, again, that's the only time I get prime rib. I'm going to be pretty excited about that.
Wow.
So knowing, right, those things. You can't just go, well, we're going to get through this and you'll be fine and I'll pull you through. No, don't do that. It's not going to get them through. It's just going to, again, we want to avoid practicing bad. I hate calling it bad, but those behaviors, negative, right, stressful, and go stressful behaviors. We don't want to make it stressful, right? You would stop doing things. You would like, hey, let's go to lunch, Meg. And every time we go to lunch, you got mugged. You're like, no, I don't want to go to lunch with you anymore because that seems to happen every time we go to lunch. Every time we go for a walk, I'm going to run into something terrifying and lose my mind. Those are when the dogs start running away when you pull the leash out, or right, they're associating now. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Right? So we have to, again, go at their pace. We have to help them realize that these things are gonna equal fabulous stuff. So even if it's just frustration, which also is reactive, right? My little guy is one of those dogs. He goes from 0 to 1,000 in 1 second. So excited to see dogs, and he's pulling at the leash and he's barking. He looks like a maniac because he wants to go say hi.
Yes, and that's
years,
yes,
right?
And that is, and that is something that's very hard to train for, right?
I tell people a year and a half. I've been, we walk twice a day, every day. A year and a half of me clicking and treating, right? And now we can finally, with me just going, good job, buddy, good boy. We can get past dogs without him losing his mind. Unless the other dog is more animated. That dog is like, hey, he's like, oh my God, right? He's so excited because he's that type of dog. He just gets excited because I have not worked on impulse control enough with him, but by just doing the clicking and treating for that, him understanding that when you settle, when you see the dog and you don't go bananas, you're going to get good stuff. We now can walk past lots of dogs without him needing to pull towards them and say hi, because that's what he wants. He's just frustrated and I want to be able to say hello to everybody. So it's the same, right? It's a different reason for it. It's a different drive for that behavior, but it's still the same behavior. I'm pulling on leash. I may be barking, right? But it's more, I'm frustrated than fear related, right? But still the same thing. You're not allowed to say hello until you settle and are calm. That's impulse control. And as soon as you settle, then I let him go say hi, right? It's just teaching them for the frustration. You've got to behave in a certain manner, and I don't need to teach you with force, intimidation, or pain. You can learn by you don't get the good thing until you settle, then you get that good thing, right? I don't have to jerk him on the collar and tell him no or get in front of him. No, he learns very quickly that we're not moving, and you don't get to move forward until you settle. And then when that behavior happens, then you get to go say hi, right? There's all kinds of ways of working with stuff, but that's just a couple.
That is beautiful. And my background's with horses. So, with horses, there is no intimidating and, bullying and throwing them to the ground, none of that. And they move in 6 directions very quickly, sometimes all at once. And so again, it was about that impulse control. It was about that. For me, it was about rewarding the positive, ignoring the negative. And again, I don't like those polarity terms, but it's very valid. And again, and making the right thing easy and the wrong thing difficult. So, I'm not going to hold you in here. You might still be able to escape, but it's not going to be as easy as doing the right thing and dealing with cooperation. So, yeah. Hey, listen, let's wrap up, hon. Do you have any final stranger danger solutions, tried and true? You've really covered an awful lot. It's been awesome. You got anything else you want to last word?
Yeah. A couple of little tips. So if you've got strangers, I beg people, do not stick your hand in a dog's face, right? We all tend to go, let them sniff me. Do you know how good their nose is? They don't need you to have your hand up in their face for them to sniff you, right? So now we're just getting into their space, and now the dog may bite you. So always let the dog come into your space if you want to say hello. That's going to make them more comfortable. So not getting into their space, sticking your hand right in their face. Don't do that. They don't need to. They can smell you from where you are. Trust me. So not sticking a hand in the face. Try as best you can to keep a loose leash. So when you are walking out on there, know that when you put tension on the leash, that will often then cause a reactive behavior, right? So if the dog is just looking and staring, when you pull, that's going to cause that reactivity because all I got is fight or flight. And now my flight is taken, and now you're putting tension on the leash. That's going to cause me to explode to make that scary thing get further away.
And that intention on the leash is also, for me, it's that emotional connectivity that we have with our dogs. That's massive also. So please go on, continue. That was beautiful.
And teaching a few cues. So before you go for these walks, if you're going out in the environment, teach them some really solid cues, whether that's an automatic check-in or to watch me on cue. I love find it, because if you get your dog's nose to the ground, that's where their brain is. They're just going to be in sniffing. That's beautiful. They know the trigger's there. But if I've got your nose to the ground, you're not reacting. You're not doing that bad behavior, as we say, while that trigger's around. So I love nose work for those kind of things. And I'm always tossing treats on the ground for the dog to be sniffing. And because sniffing is also calming. It's self-soothing. So it's kind of a double benefit of you being focused on something else and this actually being something that is soothing for you.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. And the other thing is the worst thing that I can hear on a walk is, I'm really good with dogs. And they're already walking into your space. It's kind of like, I don't want to say my dog's not, but don't presume because you're good with dogs, the dog's good with people. So yeah. And same thing. And I loved what you said. I am very guilty of that too. I always put my hand first, but that's not right either. I try to ask permission, and that, 1,400 pounds at a time taught me that, to ask permission, because there's no forgiveness when I'm flat on my back.
And when you learn to read them, like I said, the slightest this. If the dog doesn't always run away, the dog doesn't always snarl at you. The dog may just do this. That
Just
is
look
a
away.
clear
Yes.
indication. Nope, no thanks, right?
Yes.
And then here we go in because they're not backing up. No, he said clearly, no thanks. I don't wanna.
Yes.
So
Yes.
don't go into their space. You can call them over. If they don't come over, that means they do not want to be pet by you. So leave them alone, right?
And that goes for office workers, co-workers, family. If they don't want to engage, I need to let them, settle a little bit first, have some food or a martini or whatever it is they need, and then we will engage in talk. So yeah, I hate to say that we have run out of time, and so but yeah, Libby Kovalcik, can we somehow pick your brain? At least go to Rancho Costa Humane Society's website.
Yeah, and I'm always here to help, even if you're not an adopter. I give tips and things like that, offer up kinds of ideas or training information that you might need. And just for you, Meg, even though I know this is this wasn't planned by you, of course, but some of my favorites, again, what I like to use at the shelter. And I can't tell you how many stories I talk about this stuff and how helpful. I try to get
you have Calm Balm in your hand. You have Calm Balm. What's the bottle? I can't read it. Which bottle?
Calm Balm, the Magic. I love Magic Spray when we're out on walk.
Magic Spray, Magic, my big.
Because if you do run into the unexpected, again, one last thing. That's why I say teach. Let's go. If you can say those words and your dog knows we're moving and I don't have to pull the leash, it's going to help you that much more, because then you can get out of there. Somebody's approaching you. Let's go. We're out of here. We're moving. We don't want to be close to you, and your dog is just coming along with you. So teaching those cues before you get out in the environment is going to be key.
What came to me was homework. Work on this at home.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Libby. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, hon.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
And thank you, Rancho Coastal, for the loan of Libby. All right. Thank you, hon. See you soon. Bye.
You've been listening to Animals Inside Out, brought to you by BlackWing Farms. If you know anyone who could benefit from today's episode, please consider sharing it. Also, if you want to learn more about BlackWing Farms and the incredible natural remedies for mental, physical, and emotional needs of animals, go to blackwingfarms.com and enter Animals Inside Out for 10% off your next purchase. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, and we'll see you in the next episode.